A lot of you are asking me whether or not your marriage can be overturned, but that's not the right question. What you want to be asking is whether or not the rights inherent in my marriage can be taken away from me. So at the end of the day, your marriage is just a piece of paper. It's a marriage certificate. And the reason why you wanted this marriage certificate is the 1,138 state and federal rights tied to the institution of marriage. That's why we wanted that. So while the government can't take away your piece of paper, they can't take away your marriage certificate, what they can do is attempt to nullify the rights associated with it. So only the Supreme Court can overturn Obergefell, but what can the president do immediately upon taking office to make our lives difficult, to undermine the Respect for Marriage Act, and to nullify the rights inherent in marriage while we wait for the Supreme Court to issue an opinion on Obergefell? So I took a look at Project 2025 and the Respect for Marriage Act and overlaid them together and looked for loopholes, a path forward that the Trump administration would take the path of least resistance to getting to the same end result. So the biggest vulnerability in the Respect for Marriage Act is its unfettered religious exemptions. So it was the only way to get the Respect for Marriage Act passed. It was the only way to get bipartisan support was to allow for unfettered religious exemptions. So what we're going to see are what's called RFRA laws, Religious Freedom Restoration Act laws, popping up, which allow people, businesses, organizations, anyone with a religious objection or a religious belief against same-sex marriage to not have to recognize it or respect it. So that's the easiest path forward. And then secondly, something that they didn't anticipate when they wrote the Respect for Marriage Act was the redefining of sex, the narrow construction and conservative definition of sex only to include male and female. So it stands to reason that if the federal government adopts a definition of sex that only includes male and female, that the rights inherent in the federal government, the rights inherent in marriage from the federal government, that would only go to married couples that make up male and female couples. So that is another way that they can nullify the rights of same-sex couples in marriage. And now, if Obergefell is overturned, which I do think it will, if it's overturned, while the Respect for Marriage Act would stay in effect and exist in law, its practical ability to protect us and provide us the rights inherent in marriage will be significantly reduced with the state bans, and we'll find ourselves back to where we were when Windsor was in effect, but before Obergefell, where there was a patch quilt of states and rights that either acknowledged it or didn't. So now what can you do? If you want to get married and hedge your bets and get this piece of paper, the real deadline is the overturning of Obergefell, not January 20th, but really the Obergefell case. So we're at least a year and a half away from an opinion being issued in that. And if you are going to hedge your bets and get married earlier than you would have, do so safely with a prenup. But it absolutely can't hurt to get that piece of paper in advance. Adoptions. That's another area of our lives that will be greatly impacted by the religious exemptions. So if you haven't done a confirmatory adoption or kinship adoption, second parent adoption, please solidify the family unit now, as well as LGBTQ estate planning. So that is our number one impenetrable line of defense. It is how we've been recreating and protecting marriages and relationships for years. And so that is the one empowering thing that you can do for yourself, is to make an appointment, get your LGBTQ estate plan in order, and solidify and even claw back some of those 1,138 state and federal rights through some of those documents. So I will continue to keep you posted as things progress, and have a good night.